don't see any reason to celebrate, because as I'm talking to you right now, you see there's a macro problem, which of about 600 livelihood employees, they have no job. And then those people that are the breadwinners, you understand? So now the government, I don't hear even they say the government said it's going to intervene.
Seyigama nje ukuthi siyabungaza iworkers day yona isekho.
Civil servants ko parliament are getting 10%. Ne? When the people who are working hard are getting 3%, and they've been threatened when they toy. So I don't think you don't need to even celebrate, because when you celebrate, you come there as a worker, not as an unemployed person. They're busy talking about unemployed people. There will be jobs. There will be jobs. There are no jobs. Huh? How can you go and celebrate something which you don't have?
Re celebrate eng? Re celebrate sa ba ba berekang ba ba ikae. Re celebrate le bana ba ikae ba ba berekang.
We've just commemorated International Workers' Day, but the workers we spoke to, as you heard, are saying that there's nothing to celebrate. We're asking, do you still believe labor unions are still the best vehicle to address the worker issues in South Africa? Kungabe basakholwelwa ukuthi izinyunyana zabasebenzi eningizimu Afrika zinamandla okuxazulula izinkinga zabasebenzi? Umbuzo wethu ke lo namhlanje mbukelo ohlelweni lethu olungunqa phambili Asikhulume, let's talk. Igama lami ngingubongiwe uMakhumalo wakwazane. Sikukhumbuze ke mbukelo ukuthi ningaba ingxenye loluhlelo ngokushayela ucingo sizwe umbono noma imibuzo yenu. Inombolo zethu ke zithi 0117140677 noma 0117140678. Ungabuye futhi usithole kumakhasi ethu okuxhumana ku Twitter @SABC Izindaba kanye na ku Facebook SABC Izindaba. Ukuze kubelula ke mbukelo isicela uqale ngo #Asikhulume #SABC News bese ke ubhala umbuzo noma umbono wakho. Asikhulume mbukelo. Siphinde sikubingelele sikwamukela ohlelweni Asikhulume, let's talk mbukeli. Kade nje sigubha usuku lukazwelonke lwabasebenzi ngaphansi kwesimo esishubile sokuntuleka kwemisebenzi, izinga eliphezulu lokungalingani, ukukhuphuka kwentela kanye nosekukhuphule futhi izinto eziningi kanye nobubha obudlangile. Mbukeli, ngaphambi kokuthi sikhulume nezihambeli zethu, sibuze abasebenzi ukuthi kungabe basakholwelwa ukuthi izinyunyana zabasebenzi eningizimu Afrika zinamandla okuxazulula izinkinga zabo? Ake sizwe ukuthi batheni.
The unions should be not associated with the government, because some of the workers are part of the government.
Sisesekhona isidingo sama-union, kodwa ama-union makangalali ingubo yinye nabo sopolitiki nama-political parties. I-union akube i-union ibe independent, then nalaba babe independent pair.
I knew before a union was mediating between the workers and the employer. But now the unions are now joining the employer. They keep on telling the people that we have spoken on your behalf, things will come all right, things will be fine, only to find that they are the same in the blanket with their employer.
What I can say, the union, they're no longer protecting the workers. So I think maybe they're just doing things for their benefits, or to be recognized, to be getting promotion to the parliament, wherever it is.
Uzozwele ke mbukela ukuthi izimvo zabasebenzi esikhulume nabo zithini ukudingida kabanzi ngalokhu ke asamukele ihambeli zethu mbukeli kuuzwelinzima Vavi ongusihlalo we-South African Federation of Trade Unions phecelezi iSAFTU kanye in fact ungunobhala kanye no Ruben Maleka ovela kwinyunyana yabasebenzi bakahulumeni iPublic Servants Association. Sinamukele nobabili, sinamukele ohlelweni namhlanje.
Masibingelele sibonge ithuba, ngiyabingelela kuRuben.
Good morning, Bongi. Good morning to GS Vavi. Thank you very much.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Asiqale ngawe Ruben. Abasebenzi bathi bona ababoni isidingo sokuthi babungaze usuku lwe-Workers' Day. Bathi aluna alusho lutho kubo. Nithini ngalokho?
Yeah, I think first of all, let's acknowledge the fact that as long as the trade unions continue to be politically aligned, that is where we are today. I've heard the listeners and the viewers there. They're talking about independence of trade unions. And we also forget that the trade unions represent the socio-economic justice that must happen within the workplaces. And the other part of it is that the trade union movement itself is meant to develop the leadership that will obviously filter into the society and lead the society. But at this point in time, we can see that the most difficult part of our lives coming from 1994 is that we still have trade unions that are not independent and they're politically aligned, and that compromises the mandate of the workers. So as we go along and we find that trade unions become independent and they're no longer in bed with any political party or a political party that is in government, will be able to know that trade unions themselves are able to pursue issues of workers without any compromise. Because the compromise comes when you find leadership looking for positions in government because they are politically aligned. But once they are independent, there will be no need for any trade union leadership to look for a job in government at the expense of workers.
I'll come back to you in just a moment. Bavavi, siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi ube nathi. Abasebenzi bathi ningosopolitiki abaqashe emva kwamanyunyana. Nithini?
Kukho ingxenye ephakathi kwethu lapho esityholo siyiqiniso yokuthi balala embhedeni omunye nabaqashi babo bakwi-Tripartite Alliance. And nami ndandikade silapho nenumsa nezinyunyana eziningi ezaphuma zathi nocha kwanele asidluli la ku-2013 and saxoshwa ke ekhosathu ngaleso sizathu. Bogi isimo asisihle sezinyunyana ngokunokwazo, whether they are independent or they are in alliance or what, the unions in the overall are weaker in 2023 than any other time in their history. You see that by the numbers. The numbers do not lie. Currently, unions only represent 23% of workers in the entire economy. And unions used to represent close to 40% in 2007.
Isizathu ukuthi abasebenzi abanithembi noma kwenze njani?
Exactly. Isizathu ukuthi inyunyana ngokunokwazo zishaya ama-own goals. Ama-shops amanye avumela abaqashi ukuthi abadivide kubasebenzi babanikeza ama-promotion. Umzekelo esiwenzile ukukhupha ingokeli esithembileyo saseParliament naseCabinet, abasebenzi mabebona laba bantu ukuthi ibona laba bantu basicindezele, yenza ukuthi babonyanye kwa ezonyunyane babephuma kuzo laba baholi. And okwesithathu iservice siyahla, akusaserviswa ngale ndlela. Amanyunyana ahlile ukutrain ama-shops kwathu ama-organizer nengokeli. Lento siyibiza nge-worker control okanye i-internal democracy ayisafani tu nakuqala. Ingokeli sezikwazi ukuthi zizenzele unothanda ukhwabanisa i-corruption lesikhomba ngale kwi-political parties iningi kakhulu la kumanyunyana. Angitsho wonke kodwa iningi kangendlela ukuba asinakwazi ukuthi sifihle sithi asiyonkinga. So zi-own goals ezenza ukuthi makubekho imarikana abasebenzi bazilwele ngokunokwabo. Zi-own goals zaba-unions ezenza ukuthi abasebenzi basemafama edidwarrens bazilwele ngokunokwabo ngoba belahlekelwe yithemba kwinyunyana zabo.
Ruben, do you agree with what Mr. Vavi is saying? Ukuthi you are scoring your own goals and isenzi kahle kahle ukuthi abasebenzi bathole ukuthi bakwazi ukuzweka ukuthi bathini futhi kanti nokukhwabanisa ngathi sekuthanda ukuba kuningi kuyinyunyana. What do you have to say to what he's just said?
Look, first of all, I must agree that there's a decline in unionization in the whole country itself. But let's look at the reasons also to say why are more workers are not unionized. It's simply one of the reasons is that it is casualization, outsourcing, and the issue of where workers are working for another employer in terms of TES. So in that way, we are denying workers, the right to be employed in order to benefit, to have a decent work. And in that way, because of casualization, workers find themselves working 2 or 3 days a week, and in that way, they are not able to even find a space to belong to a trade union. I think that if we can deal with the issue of outsourcing, secondly, deal with casualization, then we will be able to see that the workers themselves can see the reasons to have a trade union because they'll be full-time. They'll be able to go to work on a daily basis.
But what about the claims? What about the claims of corruption that have just been made right now, that some of the unions are scoring their own goals in that regard?
Look, firstly, if I would speak for the public service, if you look at the 2016 research by University of Stellenbosch, it will tell you that on average basis, especially in the public service, the trade unions, on average, the members would gain over at least 7% above average, simply because there's a strong trade union representation in the public service. But the other part of it is that in the private sector is different because of the nature of work that is there. And that is the cause that as trade unions in general, we must unite and fight the issue of casualization, the issue of outsourcing, and tenderizing the work. Because like in the public service, many of work that used to be permanent, especially like in the public works, we've got so-called EPW, many of the securities in the public service are outsourced. If you go to cleaners are outsourced. That's the cause that we must fight for, to say that let these people be permanently employed so that they can have a decent work, because we don't want...
So Ruben, pardon me for coming in there. Give me a second. We'll go for a quick ad break. When we come back, I want us to talk about this unity that you say trade unions must begin to exercise. Is it even feasible? Mbogeli, siyabonga ukuthi uhlale nathi. Ake sibone ukuthi nithini einkundleni zokuxhumana. Okay, Hadebe uthi cha, abadayisi abakhulu izinyunyana. Mawufuna ukuxakeka empilweni, yiba yilungu lenyunyana. uBhenny uthi hayi azinawo tu amandla, bayaxhatshazwa abasebenzi ngabaqeshi, ingakumbi ezifama disekweleha kwaTuba. Umusa uthi lento yenyunyana ikakhulukazi lezi ezidla ngakhezo lunye neANC akulula ukuthi zibe nawo amandla ngani ngoba inhlangano ebusayo uxhaso iluthola kubo onxiwankulu. Manje umbuzo uthi ushaya kanjani isandla esikuphakelayo? Sisaqhubeka ke nehambeli zethu. Babavi uyabezwa bayakhala bathi usishaya kanjani isandla esikuphakelayo?
Awukwazi ulala kamandi embhedeni ebusuku uvuke kusasa ulwe. Ngithe manikhuluma kwenye inqubo ngathi awukwazi ukuthi uthi sikwi-alliance ziphethe. Kule alliance yethu sizama ukuthi ingwenyama nemvu ziphile kanye ebuhlandini obubodwa ngesikhathi esisodwa. I-contradiction yomhlaba. Awukwazi ukuthi ungathi ulwela imivuzo namhlanje uyazi ukuthi isource yokuthi abasebenzi bakwi-public servants bathole u-3.5% okanye banikezelwe i-wage freeze for iminyaka ibe mithathu emine, kubekho nalapho bangasatholi no 0%. Ube kwi-elections ezilandelayo nguwe usuhamba phambili uthi laba bantu banishaya nge-austerity program, yibone kumele futhi nibavotele futhi. Ayishayi nje kuphela i-salaries zoRuben namanye amanyunyana, ishaya ne-conditions of employment. Mawubheka nje ama-statistics ngu-200,000 ukweqa kwe-vacancies okanye abantu ekumele babaqeshiwe kwi-public service. Lonto isho ukuthi udoctor oyedwa osalile kwi-public sector usesebenzela mhlawumbe odoctor abathathu abane abashiya. Unesi oyedwa usethwale umthwalo wezinye inesi esahamba. ucleaner, usecurity, konke nje specialist ezikhoyo phaya zinikezelwe umsebenzi impossible. Isimo sepolitiki siphuma kwi-economic program. Ma usithi ke kwi-elections ezilandelayo wena uzohamba uyokhankasela ukuthi kuqhubekeke leso simo sokuphatheka kwabasebenzi beqhatshazwa udlula kunayizolo. Abasebenzi bazawuthi ke ngokunyunyana zonke ziyafana nje useless.
Ruben, you mentioned something before we went for the break. You said unions must work together, but we've seen infighting in the union space. We've seen hostilities. What is the possibility of this, though?
Yeah, the possibility is high. The only thing that must be removed is the issue of the political alliance. And I repeat, the political alliance is the enemy of the workers. Because as long as we have got, some trade union leadership who would have ambition, who would have, some view of one day I would want to become a cabinet minister. As the time as we do collective bargaining or we deal with worker issues, you'll find that in the back of the mind, as Comrade Vavi has said, we are just heading towards elections. And we all know that people would want to be in the list of different political parties so that they can benefit and they'll be singing the same tune of saying, let's rally behind a political party of this nature. And if that doesn't stop, there is no time where the independence of leadership in the trade union movement can unite and say, let's fight one cause.
How do you stop that, though? How do you stop it?
By making sure that trade unions move out of the so-called alliance with political parties. Then they become independent. Then the workers be able to speak for themselves. The workers can be able to give a proper mandate to trade union leadership who are not compromised by political alliance.
Babavi, ukuchema lokhu ngathi kuba inkinga kakhulu. Yinto eniyibonayo ukuthi ingake yenzeke ukuthi izinyunyana zingasachemi nosopolitiki njengoba uRuben asho ngoba nabalaleli uyabezwa bayasho bakhuluma leyo nto leyo kodwa yinto eniyibonayo ukuthi ingake yenzeke noma nisazo lokhu niqhubeka nenza izinto ngalendlela eniyenza ngazo.
Ithemba likhulu lona ukuthi ngeke ilanga oza kwethu isikakhulu laba kwikhosatu bawubona ukuthi lento yale alliance ayibasebenzela abasebenzi. Ithemba lethu siyaqhubekeka ke ukusebenzisana kunye nabo ngoba i-reality ithi ikhosatu okwamanje i-represent abasebenzi abaqile kwi-50% kwi-public sector. Unity ngaphandle kwabo is impossible. And even generally, by the way,
is unity possible generally, though?
It is possible. It is possible, but we must deal nezinto sikhulume ngazo ngithe own goal. I-own goal yethu ayikuphela ukuthi kunenyunyana ezilala empedeni nabaqashi babo. No, ayona kuphela. Nezinye inyunyana zethu esingaphandle kwe-alliance zibhekene nenkinga enkulu yokuthi lento ibonayo eyenzekalayo kwi-political party nakosopolitiki iyenzeka ngaphakathi kwezinyunyana eziningi. Ngibale nami indaba ye-corruption, indaba yokufa kwe-democracy ngaphakathi, indaba yongalonkulu, indaba yokusebenzisa i-constitution yokususpendana kugijima inyunyana ezinkantolo kuxoshwe lo kususpendwa lo and udle imali. Siyabona kumaphepha ama-millions ayadliwa la ngaphakathi kweunion. Oke wathi nje uyikhuluma lo ndaba suspendiwe uhambile. Sisimo sezinyunyana esingenanto yokwenza ne-alliance. Sisimo nje sokuthi sizithole ngonyaka ka-2023 sesibhekene nokuthi kahle kahle inyunyana sezingathi abanye abantu bafuna ukuziphendula zibe yila coach number 4. Angithi kwakuyijoke apha eSouth Africa ukuthi coach number 1 i-national parliament, coach number 2 i-provincial parliament, coach number 3 i-local government. Ukhona ucoach number 4 abantu abathile bacabanga ukuthi inyunyana ngucoach number 4 yokudlala bona bangene la bengojakalashi bezimpisi ezombethe ingubo le zegusha abazochitha umanyano labasebenzi kuba nje befuna ukubona inyunyana njengento yokuphila kamandi bona nefamily zabo. Exactly lento sibonayo kwi-political parties.
Ngifuna masibuye sibheke ixazululo ukuthi abasebenzi bathola kanjani usizo mangabe kwenzeka yonke lento kuyinyunyana, nibabekaphi konke lokhu kubabekaphi? Kodwa asike sithi khumo kancane mbukeli, siyabuya. Sesiphethe ke mbukela ke sibheke isombululo zezinkinga zabasebenzi kanye nezinyunyana sizwe ukuthi bathini ngokuthi baxazulule inkinga zabasebenzi. Babavi besisakhuluma ukuthi uma ngabe zonke lezi zinto zenzeka zibabekaphi abasebenzi, nibona ukuthi yikuphi okumele kwenzeke ukuthi nikwazi ukuthi nibasize kukho lokho abakhuluma ngakho?
Funeke abanyanisekile bazame. Isaftu ithe must celebrate a May Day, sathi sikhumbula emuva kwi-Durban strikes zika-1973 sibheka ukuthi yini into abayenzayo eyawonakala between 1973 namanje eyenza ukuthi inyunyana zibe sezingathi ziyafana nje ne-political parties. Makubuyele nemuva sinxusa ukuthi abasebenzi bathathe ulawulo lwenyunyana, bayeke ukukhonza ingokeli at the expense ze-unity yabo okanye ngitho sebedlelwa imali kodwa hawu bayapriza lezo nyunyana ezongokeli zibadlela imali yabo. Kumele benyunyana ziqale kabutsha ukwenza i-education, isikakhulu i-education uqinisekisa ukuthi abasebenzi bayakwazi ukudefendwa emaplantini, kodwa i-education ezokwenza ukuthi sibabone ama-charlatans angenile la akwazi socialism, kodwa ubone bayilo social ngungqwankulu lo uzama ubhidliza yonke into ekhoyo la. Abasebenzi masizame futhi ukuthi sibe nemikhankaso. uRuben ukhulume into enhle kakhulu wathi enye into eyenze ukuthi inyunyana ziphelele ngamandla ukurestructurishwa kwabasebenzi. Kubekho le phenomenon yama casual ngisho sesiwinile idabi kwi constitutional court ukuthi akho umsebenzi kumele basetshenziswe ukudlula u3 months, kodwa lo iyaqhubekeka ngoba inyunyana zikwazi uku-enforce lonto ziwiki. U-Department of Labour ufana nento engekho, and abaqashi they taking the full advantage of that situation. So kumele bakubekho imikhankaso silwe ngokuhlangana. Lo mama bekhuluma pha wenza imistake ukuthi inyunyana kumele basibhekane nabasebenzi kuphela abasemsebenzini. Sithini ngabalusha lwethu eyibona ububuso bokungakho kwemisebenzi eSouth Africa? Sithini ngabantu bezimama babakhala i-service delivery protest ezenza ukuthi South Africa ibe i-protest capital of the whole world? Kumele sizama ukuhlangana xa sisonke ukulwisana nokungabekho kwemisebenzi nokuthi isimo se-economy sithi ukuba ngcono, because makubheda kanje umuntu uzojoinela ntoni inyunyana ngoba ubhekene nokuthi retrenchwe kusasa, akanama benefits, akho lutho ayisebenzayo, uboleka imali ukuya emsebenzini.
And for you, Ruben, what do you see as being the solution here, particularly to get more young people to be part of unions, because it looks like they're not interested?
Yeah, as I've said, that trade unions must be seen as a leadership development, and this must also not only be at the workplace level. It must also start at the universities. It must come to the workplace level and filter into the society, meaning that we need to start as trade unions to conscientize workers themselves. And I agree with Comrade Vavi to say that we need to also, emphasize the issue of education, meaning that if the more we've got trade unions that are empowered in the workplaces, where they are able to articulate and defend their own trade union movement, understanding their rights. Because in many respects, those days of having a trade union that only is good about marching, not being able to articulate what is the Labor Relations Act, what other acts in the employment that are important that can defend their own rights, occupational health and safety in the workplace. So education is key. And that is the most thing that we must do as the trade unions to emphasize education in the workplaces, make sure that our shop stewards are empowered, and the youth will see the need. Because remember, the youth of today is not those ones that you can only charm by means of a strike or charm by means of more protest. They want content. And that is what, as trade unions, we need to do to empower our own leadership in the on the shop floor level by means of education.
All right, let me thank you both for your time. Thank you very much, Ruben. Siyabulela kakhulu Tatuvavi. Sibonge babukeli ngokuba yingxenye yalolu hlelo nakuzihambeli zethu umnumzana uZwelonke Vavi ongunobhala we-South African Federation of Trade Unions phecelezi i-SAFTU kanye no-Ruben Maleka ovela kwinyunyana yabasebenzi bakahulumeni i-Public Servants Association. Mbukele uzweleke na ukuthi ungakanani umsebenzi okusamele ukuthi wenziwe izinyunyana kanti futhi nokuzwana phakathi kwabo kuyinto ezoba semqoka kakhulu ekuthenini benze umsebenzi obonakalayo kuyaphambili. Siyabonga kakhulu ngokuthi ube nathi namhlanje. Igama lami ngikubongiwe uMakhumalo wakwazana. Nisale kahle.